In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the information that's on pages Excel 58 and 59, which we're going to be adjusting the column width. And as you format a worksheet, you may need to adjust the width of one or more columns to accommodate text or larger font size or style. The default column width is 8.43 characters wide, which is a little bit less than 1 inch. Now with Excel, you can adjust the width of one or more columns by using the mouse, the ribbon, or the shortcut menu. Using the mouse, you can drag or double click the right edge of a column heading. And of course, if you're using the ribbon or shortcut menu, it actually includes commands for making more detailed width adjustments. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to just select maybe cell A4 just to get an active cell. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to position our mouse pointer in between the column headings for A and B on there. And of course the column heading, of course, is the box at the top of each column containing a letter. Now before you can adjust column width using the mouse, you need to make sure you position the pointer over that right edge of the column you want to adjust. Now in this column that we're looking at, TV commercials is going to be our widest entry. So now we want to go on to step 2, to where we're going to make sure that we fully display TV commercials. And to do that, we're going to click and drag this to the right until we see TV commercials. Now we're almost there in this case, so you may need to click and drag just a little bit more until you see all of TV commercials that's on there. So that is a way of clicking and dragging to make these columns a little bit wider. Now if you went a little bit too much and there's a little bit extra white space, you can always click and go to the left a little bit. Now there's of course a little line that will appear and that will show you where the edge of your column is going to be at. Now another way to do this, which is actually a little bit of a simpler way, is going to be using the double click feature or the Autofit feature. And of course this is on step 3, and it tells us that we are going to position the pointer on the column line between B and C. And that's until it changes our mouse pointer into a black line with arrows pointing in opposite directions. When we do that, we're going to double click. And when you double click, notice here that the column has automatically widened to the widest entry, which in this case is going to be the inventory date or the title or the column label that's on there. And when you double click, that's going to activate the Autofit feature, which automatically resizes a column so that it accommodates the widest entry in a cell. Now in step 4, you're going to use the Autofit feature to resize columns C, D, and J. So you just want to put your mouse pointer between C and D, and you want to double click. Then you want to put it between D and E and double click. And then finally you want to go over here to in between columns J and K and double click here as well. And of course there, now we have it, that columns C, D, and J have all been resized to fit the information that's inside of it. Step 5 tells us that we're going to select the range F5 through I5. And we're going to select these 4 cells here. Now you can change the width of multiple columns all at once by first selecting either the column headings or at least one cell in each column, which that's what we're going to use right here. On step 6, it tells us we're going to click the Format button in the Cells group. So up here on the Home tab, in the Cells group, here's our Format. When we click on the Format, it pops open a list there, and we're going to click on Column Width. And of course now the Column Width dialog box will open. And of course the column width measurement is based on the number of characters that will fit in the column width when formatted in the normal font or font size. And in this case, it's going to be 11-point Calibri. Now, here what we want to do is that we want to go on to step 7, and we're going to drag the dialog box by its title bar, and that's if it obscures your view of the worksheet, which in my case it really doesn't, because I can still see my columns here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in 0.91, and of course this is going to be 0.91 inches. As we noticed a little bit earlier, there was a quotation mark that's in there which represents inches. When I click on OK, take a look at columns F, G, H, and I, and notice that they now have all been resized to 0.91 of an inch. Now, if you don't have your rulers activated on there to where you can take a look at your rulers, it's going to display the size of the column a little bit differently. So you may have to take a look at making sure that your rulers are set on there. Now, if you ever see a whole bunch of number signs appears after you adjust a column, that ultimately means that the column is too narrow to display the contents, and typically you're going to see that of just numbers that's on there. Now, values are just of your values. Now, the labels won't do that because we couldn't see all the labels a minute ago, but it didn't have the number signs. But if our values were a little bit too small, the columns were too small for our values, then you would see a bunch of number signs that's there, which means that you need to widen out that column so you can display all the numbers. Now, if you want to change the row height, you can easily do that just as you did the column height. Of course, you can notice that when you put your mouse pointer between the row headings of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, on there, you always want to put it on the bottom edge of the row, and then you can click and adjust that just as you did with the columns on there as well. And of course, that concludes the information that's on pages Excel 58 and 59. You're ready to move on to the next video, which is talking about inserting and deleting rows and columns.